Hello, thank you for being here. So we all know that sports and fashion are more and more connected. After Ralph Lauren, Prada for years with Luna Rossa, Armani with the Olympia team, and you worked with Armani, Gianluca, for years, and you know, Moncler, and now, there's a, Tommy Hilfiger is the official partner of the new Cadillac Formula One team, which will debut next year. And last year, it entered in a multi-year partnership with the US SailGP team. Now we have an Italian SailGP team. So we're very proud of this, and it was launched earlier this year with investors that span from Hollywood to Milan. So I'll set the stage a little bit, so introduce. Assia is a co-founder of the Muse Sport Consortium and co-founder of Muse. And Gianluca is also a co-founder and a chief executive officer of the consortium. And they partnered with Chief Executive Officer Jimmy Spithill, and they acquired the assets of Red Bull Italy SailGP team from Larry Ellison. Sorry, I had to read all this. It was just too much. The consortium includes Anne Hathaway, her husband Adam Schulman, and Evan Ewerman, president of the New York jewelry company, David Ewerman. So, how did this all start? How did you meet? Why are you investing in SailGP? Please tell us.
I can kick it off. Thank you, everyone, for having us here. It's really exciting to be on the stage to talk about something that is very dear to our heart, both professionally and personally. I run a venture capital firm called Muse Capital. We do early stage consumer technology investing across how we care, live, and play. Play being sort of my background before starting the fund 10 years ago. And we also have a platform called Muse Sport, which has been investing over the last decade in emerging sports, men's and women's, such as SailGP. And that comes from being on the board of directors of the Juventus Football Club from 2012 for 9 years, where we started the women's team in 2016 and the likes. And I saw a real opportunity into the evolution of what would be sports 2.0 and the future of sport. Sailing has been a very big part of my life growing up, and my father sailed a whitbread race 50 years ago, crossing the Indian Ocean. And 2.5 years ago, I actually got in my inbox the opportunity to invest in the American SailGP team. At that time, Larry Ellison had put together this league, and it was 5 years in. And I put a small ticket in because I was extremely intrigued, and we'll talk about sort of why the commercial opportunity was so interesting. But I immediately looked under the hood, thought it was fantastic, called my best friend and also fantastic colleague and also phenomenal investor over the last 20 years to invest in it with me. And the reason being is that when I was visiting his family in Venice a few years ago, I saw a picture on his father's desk, and it was black and white, and it was the father on a sailing boat. And I said, "Oh, you're a sailor too?" And he said, "Oh, I crossed the Indian Ocean. I did the whitbread race 50 years ago." And I said, "Really? My father did as well." And we suddenly realized that after knowing each other for 20 years and having parallel careers, that we both had these crazy fathers who had sailed. And so when I invested in the US team, I immediately called Gianluca and I said, "Would you like to do this with me?" And he goes, "Absolutely not, but call me when you get the Italian team." So after infiltrating with the league and frankly falling in love with the model, I ended up calling Gianluca and didn't have to convince him to create this consortium with me to take a leading position and own the Italian team. And sort of in closing, one of the main reasons we invested in, apart from the fact that it's one of the most exciting adrenaline-fueled sports I've seen in a long, long time, and similar to Formula One, it travels all over the world, and it's an extremely exciting sport to watch both on television and on the water. It's also men and women on the same team, so a really sort of exciting opportunity to see both both on the same boat as opposed to in silos, which is what we're seeing most today. As you saw in the video, there's also a parallel impact league. So the boats are not only competing against who can win on the water, but it's also who has the greatest impact from an environmental point of view, and that is because it is fueled by the wind as opposed to gas guzzling. And so it just represents a lot of the values that we know are important to today's consumer. And then I will pass the baton to Gianluca, but a big part also from a commercial sustainability part is that.
Exactly. So Gianluca, yes, I briefly mentioned that you are very popular in the fashion industry. You worked with Mr. Armani, you worked with Moncler, you still are an advisor for Moncler, so apart from all your investments. So why do you think there is this attraction between fashion and sports today? What is it that makes
I think there are like multiple characteristics. Let me start saying that Larry Ellison had an intuition 6 years ago, and an intuition that is connected to many like luxury brand that is about heritage, it is about nostalgia. And Larry Ellison, since he was very young, even before Oracle, had an incredible passion for sailing. There is a story that goes saying that his first wife divorced him because basically instead of buying a house, he moved into a sailing boat. And when he was able to, he started basically competing in the America's Cup. That is the third oldest sports competition in the world. The Olympics, Royal Ascot, America's Cup, 176 years. The thing with the America's Cup is that it's every 4 years. It's a very, very elite sports. And in between one America's Cup and the other, there is nothing else. So America's Cup was able to bring together millions of sailing fans around the world, but leave them orphaned just after the end of one America's Cup. Larry Ellison capitalized on that because he understood there were these million fans waiting for the next America's Cup, and that there were no like global sailing championship. Obviously, the sport of sailing in the last 10 years completely changed because as you guys can see from the video and the picture, the foiling technology arrived. This sailing boat now go 4 or 5 times the speed of the old classic sailing boat, getting to 50, 60 knots on the water. Just to give you a comparison, like you need a 700 chase boat, power boat to stay behind one of these sailing boat and their maximum speed. And he had the chance to start this league from scratch. So he basically sent out a team and said, can you bring me the best ideas from all the sports league out there? And the team came back and said, well, you have to do a few things. You have to put men and women in the same team. So there is 2 target audience. Every boat has to be the same, so there is no technology advantage for anyone. Every location has to be spectacular, so Saint-Tropez, Rio de Janeiro, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, hopefully very soon Italy. And you have to cap the expense so the team can be profitable in a very short term. And then basically share data. So everything can see live the data of the other boat. So it's just man versus nature. The best technical team on the boat wins.
And there's a prize money.
There's a prize money, yeah, at every race. The race is split in 2 days, like Formula One, Saturday and Sunday. Very smart format. It's only 15 minutes for each race, back to back. That means that the attention span of the audience is secure. And then the other very important element is that this championship start basically bringing global sponsor. These boats are basically moving billboards that are on camera for the entire duration of the race. The size of the branding, Formula One in few centimeters, here is from 50 centimeters to meters big. And it's one of the reasons why one of the most important luxury brand in the world, that is Rolex, decided to basically move the budget after 12 years of Formula One. Last December, move the budget to SailGP for the next 10 years. You mentioned like fashion brand, luxury. There is obviously a sharing values, as we have seen going back, sharing value with sports, starting with Hermes in 1920s, again with Rolex and Ralph Lauren. And so we're a very like a young league, only 5 years, but we see a very bright future.
But it's also very interesting to see this mix of investors, because you have Ullman, you have somebody, well, you've been in sports for a long time, but is that an added value?
Absolutely. I mean, when we were putting together this consortium, I think it's really important to get not just investors with capital. It's actually more that can really add not just to the exposure and the conversation, but also strategically and really making sure that we're talking to a much wider audience. And Anne Hathaway, who Gianluca has known for a long time, has joined us, and I know she cares very much also about the women component of the race. And so it just really adds, we're very proud of that consortium.
That's interesting, this mixed gender. Also, we were talking just backstage, the North Face CEO earlier today was talking about the fact that, people are connected to their phones, their children are inside their homes, they don't go out. So you were saying this is also a way to get young people to, see something outside of their digital screen.
Yeah, I mean, sports in general is an incredibly powerful medium to get, there's a foundation that I'm part of, which is the Women's Sports Foundation, and they say that girls who play sports become women who lead, but that's true for boys as well. And when you're on a mountain or you're on the pitch, you're learning about failure, you're learning about team effort and energy, and it's a huge life lessons which I think are essential. Having said that, SailGP is a very digital platform as well, and it is one of the strengths of this platform in that you can, first of all, it's, many people don't realize, but it's on multiple broadcast platforms around the world. It's also had a very digital forward strategy in terms of on YouTube. You can watch most of the races on YouTube Live. It has a very long-standing content platform across all the social media. So there are ways of really engaging with the sport wherever, whenever.
And are there any pitfalls in this? I mean, you've been talking, I'm sure, to sponsors, investors. What is the reaction so far? Because you mentioned the beautiful locations. You mentioned the fact that they're recurring races. What is the reaction so far, because it's such a young project?
Yeah, as I said, they're very early days. There is let's say, when we start talking about SailGP, there was a big, not misconception, but people are used to American's Cup, that is basically a game of ultra-rich people that, for the glory of winning the American's Cup, invest hundreds of millions of dollars for 1 month race every 4 years, basically. And listen, this has fueled also the success of SailGP and giving to the fan a league that and teams that they can follow on a weekly basis. The other characteristic I forgot to mention is that there is only one team per nation. So that creates the scarcity effect, but also secure a very large audience for each country. In Italy, for example, we have 8 million sailors. 75% of the cost is touched by water. So, and we are also on the shoulder of the giants, because the history of sailing in Italy, as some of you might remember, with Raul Gardini, Il Moro di Venezia, and the last 27 years with Patrizio Bertelli and Prada Luna Rossa, with a symbol, and really they are the one that brought forward this movement. Now, what we would like to make, especially the young generation, understand, sailing, it's a sport that you can choose to become a soccer player, you can choose to become a tennis player. Today, you can be a professional player, a professional sailors. We opened this year with Red Bull, that is our title sponsor, the first sailing academy in Monfalcone, near Trieste, where we invite the young generation to come and to basically prepare for then join the team. Our skipper is Ruggero Tita, that is a double Olympic champion, and our partner is Jimmy Spithill, that won 2 American Cup with Larry Ellison, and is the CEO of the team.
And we all know that Prada launched Linea Rossa, Luna Rossa, the fashion line. Are you thinking of launching a fashion line connected to SailGP?
Definitely. As I said, we launched a team in April. Now we are working for brands to come alongside Red Bull. They need to be international brands to make sense, because the race is in 13 different countries and attract a very diverse audience. And the incredible characteristic of this league is that you can watch the race from land, but also in every location you can watch the race from the yachts. So that's the other side of it. So a lot of brands, what they're doing now, and we're talking about Mubadala or Tommy, Rolex, they charter yachts for the weekend, they invite their top clients, and they can watch the race from there. And obviously, as I say, it's like a Monaco GP for Formula One, 13 times a year.
But in fact, there was a race in New York, wasn't there?
Yeah.
We took over Governor's Island.
So, excuse me?
We took over Governor's Island.
How do you choose these locations?
I mean, first of all, Larry is very instinct on making sure that it's the most beautiful locations in the world. So you'll always see everything from Bermuda to Saint-Tropez. Stay tuned for the Italian announcement. But also wind conditions matter a lot. And another thing, sort of comparing it to America's Cup tends to be far out into the ocean. You really don't have that visibility and that connectivity with the boats. But on SailGP, these are boats, you can see it in the images that are being shared. You're really up close and personal with these gorgeous, I call them beasts, because they're the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, and they fly by you. And so being able to have a high wind experience, up close and personal, and also be able to host thousands and thousands of people. We have Adrenaline Lounge, which is sort of the owner's box, where we get to host our premium partners and our closest sort of allies. And then you've got the Premium Lounge, which is also an incredibly luxurious experience. And then you have the grandstands, which are themselves really for all families to come and visit. And so you really need a much large footprint. And what I love the most about this is we grew up sailing, and so it's personal. But actually, you don't have to love sailing or know anything about it to love SailGP. It is high adrenaline, gorgeous, it's beauty all around you, including the guests that are in the lounge, but also these beautiful boats and the brand. And that's why you're seeing brands connecting to the boats and sponsoring, partnering with a lot of the teams that are announcing.
And how many sailors are on the boats? And what do they wear? What are they wearing now?
So it's around 7 athletes, depending on wind conditions. Right now on the boat, they're wearing these incredibly heavy-duty vests that include oxygen masks in case they get, because it's actually quite a scary experience when you see some of these crashes. I urge you all to go on YouTube and check some of the craziest stunts that have happened, and they get submerged. They also have a knife that cuts you out of your harness when you're getting stuck. Of course, that is all branded with any kind of sponsor and partner, a fashion partner that comes on board. Off the water, there's a whole lifestyle component. You have these athletes going in the tech base before and after going on their boats, and they're walking around, engaging with fans and investors and each other. There's a whole kind of walkthrough. Again, I was mentioning that the content online and on socials is very, very strong, and so you see the athletes coming in before race day and coming out, and they're dressed in whatever garment they choose. For us, that's very important. We joke that we have a duty as Italian team to always be as chic as possible. And so from the ownership group to the athletes, we want everyone on point.
But in fact, Tommy Hilfiger is the sponsor for the American team.
Yeah.
But do you have a sponsor for the Italian team in terms of fashion? Or I don't know if anybody is interested.
We're having active conversations.
Active conversation.
Anyone here willing to have this active? We're always open to we want to make sure that it's the right partner for us. Also because we, as owners and operators, it's not just sticking a logo. It's about really working with the brand, whomever it is, to engage on whatever areas, whether it's the sustainability aspect, the diversity aspect, the travel, the global aspect of these boats. It's really working together to create those really year-long campaign that's every month and even in between races. So it's about really finding the right fit for us and what story we're trying to tell.
But so looking ahead and forward, so what do you think is the potential? I mean, I'm sure as investors you see there is a lot of potential, but can you tell us what you envision for the future?
I think we have to educate an audience that is probably familiar with what sailing is, but most of the people never been to an event. And as Assia was saying, the event includes incredible location that put the audience to basically, they can see the race, but they can bring the family, the kids.
Day out.
It's over exactly, it's 2 days. And then the landscape, we also are aware there is a lot of competition out there, but sport is a catalyst for basically innate conversation in many different verticals. And so we see more and more converging these different verticals from finance to hospitality to fashion to entertainment. And one of the main reasons I also wanted to be involved with Assia into this team is that because I really see SailGP bringing together all these different verticals on this platform. Talking about before media, it's very early stage, but I mean, it's out there, like Larry Ellison just acquired Paramount, just acquired a piece of TikTok. All this platform will be also integrated with SailGP.
Do you have an official, because you mentioned YouTube, but is there an official channel?
Yeah, there's an official, I mean, the content team has been building this out from the very beginning. There's an official YouTube page, and not just for the league, but for each individual team as well. In terms of sort of where it can go, today, SailGP is the fastest growing emerging sport in history. So yeah, Obviously, having Larry Ellison backing it the first 5 years has helped. But I'm not just tooting their horn. This has been one of the most extraordinary things in my career that I've seen in terms of operational excellence, from content to digital to what happens at these events. And so there's no doubt that it's growing at the speed that it is. 2.5 years ago, when I invested in the US team, people thought I was crazy. I didn't know what I was talking about, which I now know to take as a compliment after being called crazy for 20 years.
So you invested in the American team
In the
before?
American team first, small minority check to look under the hood and make sure it was as sexy as I thought it was. And then when I really got under the hood, I saw just how extraordinary it was and how early it was, also from a valuation perspective. So I wanted to get in there before it popped. And frankly, since we invested, the valuations themselves have popped. Our investors, I believe, are going to be quite happy with us a few years from now. And already today, we're seeing some of those valuations grow. So,
And this long-term investments, I imagine.
Long and short. I mean, it's definitely, I think this is just the beginning, and if we hold on to it indefinitely, it can only do well. But I also think that some of our investors, if given the chance, in a few years from now, they'll probably see a nice return on their investment.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. And I think we're perfectly on time and all good. Thank you.